guys, like the thumbnail says, this is my last video, but I don't think goodbyes are sad. So to me, this isn't sad. This is me just saying thank you, and I'm moving on. Although I will say, I have every intention of homeschooling Morgan until she's out of this house and on to doing whatever it is that she wants to do. So I do intend on doing the things that I said that I wanted to do, which was create many, many courses for her and see her through high school and off to everything and anything. So I am hoping to pass the baton on to you. If any of you are wanting to do your own YouTube channel for a year or two, I think that's great. The more the better. I will be available in email though, so that's down below. Well, I don't even know what my own email is. I don't email myself, therefore I don't know what it is, but I'll put it down below. And if you want to check in year in and year out and see what we're doing, then please do. I love hearing from you. I've made friends on this channel. I have benefited from this channel, and I thank you for it. I think I've gotten more out of it than I have given, but I hope I have given something to someone. And I will also, my book list, if you still want it year in, year out, I create this for myself. So I have 4th grade, 5th grade, and I'm building the 6th grade one. This is just for me to know what we have read throughout the years, and then the 100 classics list or whatever. So if you want that and you want an update, then email me and I'll give it to you. So we're just going to do this video the way we always have done this video. Timestamps below, and here's the rundown. What's on Morg's school shelf? I thought I'd finish with that to show you what it is that's on her shelf right now. Year by year book list, our weekly schedule simplified. I have, as a tween, I have seriously simplified our schedule. And it's funny, because simplifying things doesn't make it, I was going to say more simple. There's got to be a better way for me to explain this, but it escapes me on camera. It doesn't mean it's less robust. I think that's what I want to say. But I have made it more simple for both of us, especially for my kid. A book haul. I want to do a book haul. And I thought I'd show our matching traveler's notebooks to give you an idea of how, we're just weird. We're just a little different. I know a lot of you are weird homeschool moms too. We're different in that I don't have a set schedule per se, in that, page 52 to 63 has to be done today, etc. And I don't map it out that way. And I think a lot of you do, and that's a really good thing. Your curriculum is built in a certain way to make that happen. And some of the courses that I do or that I've created mean that we just move. We just go from here to here, and however long it takes us is however long it takes us. And I think more and more as I have developed, it's funny because I was going through some of my earlier videos. Please don't do that. Please don't go back to the early videos. I won't erase them. I have gotten rid of a few though. But when I go back, it's so interesting to see what new homeschool mom me looked like, and how I was still very by the book, and how I wanted everything to be just so. And I was still very close to public education. Now, if you know me, I don't slam public education here. It is what it is. I came from it. Many of you came from it. We are alive and we thrive. But the model that absolutely doesn't have to work like that in homeschool. And many of us retain it because it's where we come from. It's what we do what we know, right? That's also not a bad thing. What's taken me a while to realize, and by realize, I mean actually not just recognize in my head, but to actually realize here as a reality, is that we can do whatever we want. We can do anything we want. And okay, here I come across as an unschooler, but you also know I don't knock unschoolers either. I try to at least show that every way is the right way for if you're a gardener, you'll know there's no such thing as a weed. It's just right plant, right place. And if there's a weed, it's a wrong plant, wrong place, or right plant, wrong place. And so I think that's public education for me in this homeschool. It's a right plant. It's in the wrong place here. And because I have that mentality, and I think the confidence to teach certain things in a way that I do, which many of us thankfully are confident homeschool moms, but we also are worried as well in some ways, or in a particular category. And I think that that's where these small communities and channels and vlogs and blogs and neighbors and other local homeschool communities really come in handy to help bolster that part of us that may be weak or unsure. But the things that you're sure about, rock on. I mean, do it. Don't worry about what other people are thinking. Worry about how that's going to benefit your kid. And I have just watched my kid flourish by doing that. And then in other cases, certain things like in math, we have to be more routine. We have to have a certain set curriculum. But you will see that there's kind of an array of strange stuff, like there's Waldorf science and this. So it's kind of funny how I started and how I'm ending up here on the channel. And then who knows what's going to happen the year after that. I don't know what we're going to look like when Morgan's in the 12th grade. Whatever it is, I'm sure it'll be great. But you'll see, it's really interesting when I see all these books of, it's just a giant conglomerate of the things that stuck and work, and they don't have to have a theme. They don't have to be from the same curriculum company. They don't have to be from a company at all. They can be from whatever it is that your family chooses to do. And on top of that, your schedule can be anything you want as well. So it's kind of, I wish that I had done a starter video of a before and after of this is the curriculum, and I was so sure that it had to be a certain way, and the training wheels flew off probably midway through 5th grade, and I think you can see that. But now this is what it is, and I thought I would show you those things. So first we'll do what's on Morgan's shelf, and then year by year book list. So if you still want this, I'll still be on email, and if you want this, you can ask for me every year. You can ask for it from me, because I make this for myself, and this is 4th grade, 5th grade, and now I'm populating 6th grade. And I'm also still keeping the 100s list, because I still want Morgan and still plan on giving her all of the classics that I can and the classics that she wants to read. And that's a living document. So some classics will fall off the list and some will be added. So sometimes it's kind of a shotgun approach of blip, here's a whole bunch of ones that I'm thinking about. And they kind of have a tendency to sort themselves out according to our feelings and how we want to read in a particular month or in a particular semester or year. So I will always keep those for myself, and if you want them, you can have them. Our weekly schedule is simplified. I'm realizing that keeping a simple schedule doesn't mean simple school. It can very much mean very in-depth, deep, meaningful school, and I'm liking the results of that quite a lot. Book haul, I've got a big, huge book haul of things that I'm wanting to collect for not just 6th grade, actually hardly for 6th grade, I think. I'm really thinking into the future of 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. And then our matching traveler's notebooks. I thought I would show you the inside of these and how they work, because this is kind of an example of kind of how minimalist we are with our plans and program. It's all in here. But then again, I realize I have one kid. I think if I even had one more kid, it would be hard to have this. Maybe I'll have the bigger traveler's notebook for 2 kids. I wouldn't graduate to a proper planner unless I had 3 kids, I think. All right, so let's start with what is on Morgan's shelf, because this is really what she is learning now and what we are picking up every single week, at least once a week, sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. But this is what we're picking up. There is no order here. I just need to make sure that they don't tip over. So I'll start with what's on the top, and that's Loving-Kindness, The Revolutionary Art of Happiness by Sharon Salzberg. And I think I've shown this before I don't remember the topic it could have been spirituality. And this is a really nice way to begin, because I know we're a secular family, but that doesn't, well, we're not actually a secular family. I'm a secular channel. And with that means that what I want to do is teach Morgan not just, I don't want her to realize what her own faith is, but I want her to understand what other person's faiths are, and really make sure that there isn't a misunderstanding between what different people believe in. I think that can alleviate a lot of conflict between persons if we all understood each other a little bit better. And so I want to start with this because this is a great book to begin with loving kindness, to begin understanding each other. And then we have the story of the world. We're reading this together, and Morgan had asked for more history because she likes it so much. I had mentioned that my plan was to do all 4 volumes, and then in the 8th grade, she could read all 4 in 1 year herself. And when I told her that, she actually liked it. So we're getting through that. We'll finish that, and then we'll do the other 2 volumes in whenever, I mean, before the 8th grade, before she starts reading them over again. And Howard Zinn's Young People's History of the United States has been working really, really well. This is Morgan's copy. I had gotten her a copy because this is actually, as you'll see on our program, I'll just show it to you right now. Why not? I keep looking over at it. You're wondering probably, what is she looking at? Well, this is what she was looking at. I had created a schedule, and I'll zoom in on this later, but this is our schedule. And then where is it? Right here is US history. This is also reading. So you'll see reading is color coded as what? The funny colors. So here's reading here and reading here and reading here. We're doing 4 of our core a week. So I've got 4 French, and this is different from last year, was 5 every day. But I've changed Friday up considerably. So we have reading, you see 3 times, but the 4th time is actually US history. Morgan wants to read it with me, and so we play popcorn. So she'll start reading the chapter, and when she gets tired, she'll just say popcorn, and I pick it up and start reading. So we each have our own book, and mine is all marked up, and it's got ideas for books that I can add on to it. And it helps me when I mark things up in only my book, it helps me to remember what it is that, because I've read this twice. So this is my 3rd read with Morgan. And I've got the non-young persons one over there. I've got the one for the adults that Morgan can read, I think, when we do US history in high school. And this is another one that, so when I mark it up, I really only want to see the marks. I don't want her to be distracted by them, because later on when she rereads this again, she'll probably do it in the 8th grade. I want her to mark up her own book according to what she believes is important and what she wants to write essays on, etc. So we are really liking this book, and it's generating an unbelievable amount of conversation. The fact that we are doing this in conjunction here, and there are some things that seem out of order. I don't think, our brains don't work in order. I don't know why our curriculum has to. It's okay for things to cross eras and to cross topics, to cross whatever, just add whatever word that you want in there, but our brains figure it out and they create their own connections. And so with this, what's really cool is that when we're talking about this, it could be in another completely different subject, or in one of Morgan's books, or something we see on TV or read elsewhere or hear from someone else, and she will go, oh, well, I remember that. Oh, wait a minute. What's a good example of that? Okay. In Binti, the first book that we read in the 5th grade, Binti is the protagonist. She carries an astrolabe with her. She is originally from Africa, going to the most prestigious university in the universe. So it's a sci-fi, and she carries an astrolabe with her. And we didn't know what that was, so we looked it up. And then the word astrolabe came into Morgan's Encyclopedia Britannica, and she said, oh, I remember this from Binti from the 5th grade. She was carrying an astrolabe. So she's making all of these connections because we're reading whatever it is that we want, but everything, if it's a good book, is eventually going to connect with all of these other good things. And so it's, all of this is helping to create I want to say holistic, but I want to stay away from the word well-rounded, because my goal isn't really to make Morgan well-rounded. I never in my life, has anybody met an 18-year-old who's well-rounded? I think that well-roundedness doesn't come necessarily with youth. I think it comes from long years of study and error and becoming an adult and learning sometimes the hard way. And so, I think what I want to say is that all of these things as she's reading them with me, she's making her own connections and she's reminding them of me, or she's sharing them with me. And that's super, super helpful. Also, what I wanted to say about doing the read aloud together is this has helped me gauge how far Morgan has come in her ability to read aloud, because I think I had mentioned recently that Morgan, when we started in the 4th grade, she had trouble reading even a page of Pippi Longstocking. And if you know Pippi Longstocking, there aren't a lot of words on that page. And now here she is just rattling on, going on and on. And sometimes after I say popcorn, I don't get a turn again. So I clearly am not able to read aloud as much. Well, I can, but I don't get a turn. So I love seeing that she's doing that. Love it. And then we have taken a complete detour from French. And it is because we moved into French 2 with the Well-Trained Mind. We liked the Well-Trained Mind Academy. It was great for French last year. There was one major problem with it. Well, okay, two. Two of the kids were super old. They were, I'm guessing they were 14, properly placed in French 2 for their age and well ahead of Morgan. They were definitely a strong French 2 level. And then on top of that, there were 12 students in the class. And I think that's too many for, especially for a young kid, maybe not for a high school kid, but that's too many students in a foreign language on a Zoom call, essentially. So I kind of feel like, through no fault of the Well-Trained Mind Academy, French 2 is definitely not meant for the younger kids, according to their system. So it's a great school. It just wasn't working. So what I did was I asked Morgan, hey, do you want to, before the drop dead date, do you want to pull out of the class so we can get our money back? And then we can use that money for a one-on-one tutor, that similar to the way that we had used for a tutor in the 4th grade in Alliance Française. We had a tutor, and Morgan, I think she had a tutor twice a week. So one of you, thank you. You know who you are. Thank you. You gave me the name of your tutor, and I am in contact with her now, working out a schedule for Morgan to have one-on-one. And we will continue with, she was using A+2 for French 2. But what I want to do is go back to A+1 if I can, and literally go and translate every single, when Morgan finishes this book, I want her to be comfortable with every single word, not just to gloss over it and do the exercises and kind of sort of get French. I want her to have every single word here. And so with that, I've added an old book of mine that I got for like, I don't know, $3 on sale. It's a 1974 version of French, Je parle français. And this is the 2nd edition. But I wanted to point out, because this is really poignant, in anything, I think, in any curriculum, I wanted to point out that, I'll probably actually flip the camera around to show this, but when there is, let's see, the dialogue, I'll just hold it up for now, but I can flip the camera around later, I think. There's a lot of dialogue here, and there's stuff that you want to read, and a lot of stuff. This is missing from modern language books. There's a lot of happier pictures and a lot less verbiage, a lot fewer words. And that alarms me a lot. That bothers me a lot. So when I saw the comparison, I realized that even when you knock it out of the park with this, unless you have a tutor who is really getting you to use constantly by speaking, you're going to get less out of this book than you do out of an old 70s book. So what I'm doing is, what I'd like to do is have the tutor reinforce with a lot of conversation, a lot of speaking, and a lot of conversation, reinforce these books that I'm doing with her. Because over the summer, I learned a lot from my teachers, from my French teachers in France. And I went from a kind of sort of B1 level for the DELF. And I tested, and after 3 weeks of French immersion, and the French immersion was only 3.5 hours a day, it wasn't a full day. And Morgan went to her own school, or her classroom, to do beginner French, or the non-beginner French, and I went to the advanced French. And in 3 weeks, I tested at a high B2. So part of what's going on here is a startled like an awakening in my mind of, holy cow, that's how we learn. And I'm not only taking that to heart with French and how I want Morgan to jump in by speaking with her tutor, not just doing a couple of things and a Quizlet online and some multiple choice Q&A and maybe conjugating a verb. I want Morgan to have the opportunity to talk, which is what she had when we were overseas. And it worked. It works. And I think that I can do this with her, with the tutor. So I'm doing this with her. The tutor will reinforce it. And then I'm going to work through this as well. We should be halfway done. I think this will be a 2-year thing, to get her to speak, because it doesn't matter if you know how to read it. It doesn't matter if you know how to understand it. To me, if you are, and by understanding, I mean just listening, I want the words to come out of Morgan's mouth unprompted. And we are missing that greatly in foreign languages. So I'm going to get off my high horse there because I know I can get really annoying. But I mean for Morgan to, and I know that she can become a B2 by the time before she leaves here. She can absolutely be a really strong B2. And I saw it. There were kids in my class, or not kids, I shouldn't say kids. There were young persons on their way to university who were bridging the B1, B2 gap with me in the French school. So, and they were doing it the exact same way I planned to do it with Morgan, and had been doing it in 4th grade and now want to do it in 6th grade with her. Then what I wanted to do here is we've got the next thing on her shelf is warm up morning reading. And I had shown you the encyclopedia, the Kids Encyclopedia Britannica. And I asked myself on camera, does anybody actually, do we read these, or do we just have them for the pretty pictures? Does anyone read them from cover to cover? Well, Morgan is reading, she's reading 2 pages a day, front and back or side to side, it doesn't matter. That's all she's doing, 2 pages a day. She will finish this book in the 6th grade. But she likes this so much. She sits in the morning, she just picks it up where she left off from the day before and starts reading. And I cannot tell you how many times she'll just stop me and say, hey mom, did you know that blah, 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 blah. And then we have this conversation over what she's reading, which I absolutely love. That is a kid taking ownership and of their reading and really taking it in. So because she likes that, I added this one because I've got nature anatomy, and then I have ocean anatomy, farm anatomy, and food anatomy. But I thought I would add the nature anatomy, and she reads 4 pages a day here, right after she reads the 2 pages a day of the Encyclopedia Britannica. So this is just her quick morning info read that she does, and it's not part of, per se, the reading that's on our list. Why? Because I had mentioned in a last video of why I wanted her to read the encyclopedia, is because there are things that maybe she doesn't know about that may be a huge interest to her, and she won't know about it and I won't know about it unless we go and explore first. So that's my idea of giving her a whole bunch of stuff, high input, low output. She doesn't have to narrate, she doesn't have to explain anything, but we end up talking quite a lot about this stuff. And so that's me trying to figure out what she's interested in, and it could generate more books that I could bring in, and also probably tailor, if she was interested in something that came out of there, I could tailor a course around it or a unit study or something like that. Now, we have been doing botany, and I thought, you know, I'm a huge gardener, and Morgan has been, since she was little, she has been growing her own basil. She grows her own basil. She grows her own tomatoes. She picks what kind of tomato she wants to grow. She loves the big heirloom, the ones that, like the big 2-pounders that she likes to hold in her hands. She loves those. And what else does she grow? Now she's really into catnip. So she grew catnip for her cat. And she realized that it was really, really difficult to germinate catnip seeds. We used the entire packet and got only 2 seeds to germinate. And then from there, one of the 2 nearly died. Oh, but they made it. They made it. And now it's turned into a weed in the backyard. You can't learn that stuff without doing it. And so while I was really, really excited about botany because we love to grow things, and although I will say botanists don't grow things necessarily, they tear things apart. They like to cut things up and they like to look at them. And so, oh, the book is so big it got stuck. But we're doing botany / herbology. And we grew all of everything that we're studying, and all of the plants we're going to take apart in botany and look at the cell structure and talk about the internal workings of plants and the different plants and the whole plant kingdom. We're also doing herbology tracking within it. So we're doing herbology and botany at the same time. What I have really sadly realized, I'm really disappointed in this, is it's boring. I had these great ideas of, and you can go back to my botany thing because I had shown the cover of my book, and this is Morgan's. She decorated it, and all of the ideas and how we were going to learn botany, or maybe I'll run it as B-roll up here or something. It's just slow, and we already know it, and so it's kind of like, Mom, I've already done this. I already actually did it. I proved that I know what we're talking about. So I might cut it short and do some of the real sciencey experiments that we just haven't done yet, like really look at a cell under a microscope and really understand a little bit better about photosynthesis and go a little bit more into the science of it and kind of cut this a little shorter, which is startling. You know, you'd think that we were really into plants, you'd think that we would really get into it, and maybe we would, but I think the way I had pre-planned it, I think made it monotonous for Morgan. But she does love all of the books that I had purchased for it. So what I may do is, because she's already quite knowledgeable about the growth of plants, etc. I mean, we live all around them around here. There's farms everywhere too. So she is now currently reading Grow Your Own Medicine on her own. And I've got many of them, but she likes this one because it's just very pretty, and it's got a fantastic intro about hardiness zones and climate and the chemistry behind plants and herbology. So that's what she's also reading in botany herself. Now, this isn't in any order though. Okay, so Friday is essay reading day. So part of our reading on Friday is reading French aloud. Morgan reads a French book aloud with me, and then I read something other than the read aloud that we're doing, which is The Help. Here it is, The Help, Catherine Stockett. And we're almost finished. We've got that much more to go. But this, on Fridays, it's different. I want to read something other than the books that we're reading and start to introduce more essays and poetry and short stories. And so this is also, I keep this on here. I've had this for over a year and we haven't read it yet, and I keep wanting to read it. But we just finished the very first essay, Mark Twain's book or short story on what it was like for him to ride a bike. And it's really, really funny. So if I read a little bit to her I kind of tracked it, and I'm kind of calculating if I can finish things, and it's okay if we don't, but I like to have a good meaty reading on Friday, and we should be able to finish nearly all of this by reading on Friday together by the end of the year. Morgan is just finishing. She's got one more day of Judy Blume's starring Sally J. Friedman as herself. This is the book that she chose to begin with. And the highly selective dictionary for the extraordinarily literate. We have this on Morgan's shelf because also on Fridays, we close our eyes, spin the pages or flip the pages, poke at a word, and that's the word that we learn that day, and then we end up picking out 3 or 4 others. But I love it. It's a fun game. We use them. Some of them are funny. We use them in sentences, and do I care if she remembers them? No, not really, but I think she might remember a few just because they're so fun to learn. Now who did I get this from? I got this from the homeschool mom who really loves geography. Okay, I can't remember your name and I'm really sorry, but I'll put you somewhere here so that other people know. Somebody who also loves geography, but separately, this homeschool mom was doing the spelling and dictation, and she was using an really old book. And I think this is free on like open internet or something, but I purchased the book. It wasn't very expensive. Leopold Classic Library, the Modern Speller, book 2. And we're going through it. Morgan does dictation for each one because spelling is not our forte. It turns out when we pay attention to spelling, we're not that bad. So this was really helpful for me to learn that. And also this is really outdated. It's the text is old. And so one thing that I noticed that we do is this brings history into it. And the text is old enough for it to kind of seem a little odd, where there's a paragraph that explains that Indians don't know any better and they don't know how to grow corn or something like that. And we both the neat thing is Morgan's already laughing because she knows that is not the case. That she knows that, oh, there was one other paragraph that was Indians didn't have any developed cities. And so she just smiles and she says, this must be very old before we realized that. And so that's really nice, the fact that I have been working with Morgan in various history books and various books to talk to her in our dialogue so that we can use this as old text and for its purpose, for learning dictation of good words. The reason why I like it is it's really, really easy. It's easy for me, not for her. It's easy for me. It's one very quick, you just read it. It's the dictation. And there's also the punctuation as well and the grammar. And then your kid checks it. And the words that Morgan doesn't know the definition of for vocabulary or has trouble spelling, we keep and we practice along the way. So little by little. So the spelling comes up a little bit behind how we're writing. And it's great for penmanship as well. That's not necessarily secular, but that also doesn't matter to me. This is Morgan's junk book. We love our junk books. So we had been throwing them away, but some of them are now becoming sort of meaningful for me. And so I don't know, I mean, this one, there's some funny stuff in here. There's math, there's French, there's dictation in here. There's all sorts of stuff in here. I may even date stamp the tops of them as we go so that if I need to, I can pull some stuff out and put it in our the end of year portfolio if I want to. Now, Essentials in Writing, this is the next thing that's on Morgan's shelf because she keeps all of our books, unless I have one in particular that's not meant for her, that's like an instructor manual or whatever. But this is Essentials in Writing Level 6. And this is a 32-week program, but is it 32? We're doing it in 18 weeks. So maybe it's a 36-week program. And we're doing it in 18 weeks. And we should be done with it. The first half is grammar and the second half is writing. We should be done with it at the end of, before we break for winter break. So before the end of this year. Then what I would like to do is bring in, I never started the Michael Clay Thompson book that I had for her in the 5th grade because we kind of burned out on grammar. We did a lot of grammar in the 4th grade. I bought Michael Clay Thompson's Grammar Town and we didn't pick it up. So what I would like to do is transition to that and begin and also purchase, I think I'm missing the writing portion of it. So I want to do the grammar and the writing. So I think I'll buy the book for that as well. And we'll cover that in the 2nd semester of Morgan's 6th grade. So what is next on her desk is it's a real game changer. So if you have known me at all, you have known that we have been doing Math UC, Math UC, Math UC. And in the 4th grade, we started with alpha because we needed to fill gaps. I won't retell that story, but we have done alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and half of epsilon. At the end of the 5th grade, the last month or the last 5 weeks of the 5th grade, we hit a glitch with fractions, and we just figured it out before we went for break. So now when we came back to the 6th grade, we were both kind of looking at half of this epsilon book going, do we have to start over again with that book, or can we just pick up? Can we remember enough to pick up where we left off? We had a longer break from school than I had wanted, because when we went to France for 3 weeks of French immersion, we really only were doing French and geography, hardcore French and geography. Those days counted as school, but we weren't doing math. And I didn't want to carry any math with us because we backpacked it. So we were back to where we were of, well, shoot, now what do? How do we start learning fractions over again? And I decided to try something different, because I saw the look on Morgan's face of, I don't know if I want to do that again. And I already had Life of Fred all the way up to, I've got all of Life of Fred's up to past kidney, liver, and mind shaft. So the pre-middle school. And there are a lot of opinion. There's a lot of polarization with Life of Fred, because it's weird. It's kind of out there. It's different. I actually gave this book to my husband and asked him to read a couple of chapters, and he said it's pretty wild. It's really weird the way it's written, but it's very interesting in that it pulls so many things. I want to try it with Morgan. So what I have done is we're almost done with kidneys already. Then we'll do, they're 19 chapters, so we do 1 chapter a day. And I have liver, and then I have mind shaft. So it goes, it's in order of the alphabet. Then after mind shaft comes fractions and zillions of fractions. So I have that book. And then decimals and zillions of decimals, and I have that book. After that, if she's doing well there, we can either go back and pick up Matthew C. But I've kind of been on the fence with Matthew C, because I feel like we're missing some logic. We're missing, it did such a great job. It did exactly what it needed, exactly when I needed it to do it. And I think, like many other homeschools, you realize that stuff begins and ends arbitrarily, or not when you want it to end, not because of the schedule, not because it's May, not because it's the end of the semester. And we may have come to an end to Matthew C earlier than I thought. So Matthew C may have finished for us halfway through Epsilon, but the curriculum, we really needed that curriculum, and it helped us quite a lot. Now I feel like that Morgan is going into middle school, because I count 6th grade as a middle schooler. I feel like she needs something else, and she needs more logic. So I wanted to add logic onto that. And Life of Fred does have a lot of logic in it. On top of that, what I wanted to add on was Beast Academy, because I love the way Beast Academy teaches math through logic and concepts and puzzles and curious things in a completely different way than other math. I don't know that Morgan would have been ready for it any earlier than this, and I do feel like we are ready for it now. So what I would like to do is, if if Life of Fred works out, so this is the intermediate series, we'll finish that. Then in January, we will go to Life of Fred Fractions with the Zillions of Fractions book, because a lot of the complaint is there aren't enough problems to solve in the Life of Fred books. But starting in the fractions book, there's a second book for each one for zillions of more practice problems. So there are plenty of practice problems, plenty of math with that additional book. I don't know that I would have gone with Life of Fred if it just stayed this way, with only a few problems to do each day. So we're going to do this, but then what I am doing, and then what Morgan really likes the addition of, is Beast Academy. And I've started with level 3A. And it's funny because some of it is easy, because it's 3A, we've done it, and she's in the 6th grade, but some of it has really stumped Greg and I. So this book will give you and your kids a run for their money. But I don't call this math. I call this logic for a reason. I don't want Morgan to see it as a math book. I want her to see this as a math book that we work through in a more traditional manner. And then we switch. When she's done here, we go straight into, that's why I have on my schedule math and logic. Then we do logic. There is, when I just call this logic, there is immediately a mental Like whatever barrier there might be with math, it completely goes away because this is not called math. I should actually cover that up and just put logic. They should just call it logic. So she's really enjoying taking her time. And while I'm cooking, while I start lunch, she sits down and works on it. And it's amazing watching her troubleshoot this stuff on her own, or she'll go over to Greg because he works from home, and she'll ask, hey, what do you think about this one? And her attitude about this is completely different. She would not walk up with Matthew C. and say, hey, what do you think about this problem? Let's discuss it. Now she has something to discuss. And I think bringing that discussion and the problem solving, putting it onto her as, hey, I wonder if you can do this. Can we do this? Because it's hard for us too. So my idea is I've got 3A, B, C, and D. They're four books. Yeah, okay, so this is the reader, and then this is the practice. So I have 3A, B, C, and D, and I purchased those, and I would like to finish level 3 in the 6th grade. I'd like to do level 4 in the 7th, and I'd like to do level 5 in the 8th grade. But track this as logic and track something else as math. We shall see. But as you know, I use Morgan as a guinea pig all the time, right? But I don't necessarily enjoy doing that in our core subjects. And I'm realizing that there is an interesting upheaval at the beginning here of this school year. And for the first time in a long time, I'm switching out math. And it's good. It's working really well. Okay, so this is the next thing, and it's Marabeth Quin's art. And she is a professional artist, and I love her YouTube videos. I love her art, and she has a color course that I had shown before that I had decided to add. And we're doing this on Fridays, and it's really, really fun. In addition to that, after we practice, after we work on the colors, I have on order, Morgan's asked to do, she wants to learn how to do images of people. She wants to do the human figure. And so I've got a book that she's chosen to do the human figure while I work on this thinking in watercolor. So I think it'd be really fun while we both do this in the shop together, do our color course. And then after that, do an hour of drawing together and painting together, but not doing the same thing, doing what I want to see her paint and do what is interesting to her while I paint and do what is interesting to me, because nobody can do the same art. And not everybody is into the same type of thing. So I like the idea of doing art with her without it being necessarily the same thing. Okay, I think that's everything that's on. That was it. That was her bookshelf. Now what's next? Okay, a year by year. So the book list. This is what I'm keeping up, and also the 100 list. So if you do want it, then keep my email, and I'm happy to send you my updated version every year. But on that, what we have is, you've seen this. So this will go on our book list as our first read aloud. And then Morgan's book, her private book, the Judy Blume that I showed you. And my dad found out that we read the Hercule Poirot Murder on the Orient Express, the Agatha Christie book, at the beginning of the summer. That was so much fun. And so he sent Morgan a box of Agatha Christie's, the Miss Marple series. So it's the first 5 books in the Miss Marple series. And so Morgan, because these came, I had plans for another book for her, but because these came from Grandpa, she wants to read Murder at the Vicarage, the first book of Agatha Christie's Miss Marple. And so that's the next one on her list. So since we're talking about books, let's do the book haul. Also what we read was an essay. This will also be on the book list. We read Who Are You When No One's Watching by Joel Golby, and this is in, his essay is in the book In the Kitchen, Essays on Food and Life. We laughed so hard. When I read this aloud, I was crying. I was laughing so hard. So a couple of things a couple of the paragraphs in here, we have already reread over and over again because we're just if you get this, you will know what it means when I say there's hummus on my shed. It's too funny. You have to get it. All right. The next is, I'm screening this for Morgan, and I'm not sure. A lot of this stuff isn't necessarily for 6th grade. It's for, and then what, 7th or 8th or 9th. And this book is how I discovered David Almond. So I'll do both of the books. This one is titled Free. It's Amnesty International's book titled Free. And it has multiple, there's prose in it. There's shorts. Is there a poem? It's mostly, yeah, kind of. It's mostly short stories. There's one or two that I didn't really like, or I just they didn't resonate with me, but holy cow, the one about Hurricane Katrina is shocking. Each one of the essays or short stories at the end has an attachment to which article of UN's Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, which article that might apply to the story. For instance, there's one, Article 1, we're all born free and equal. We all have our own thoughts and ideas. We should all be treated in the same way. And so that's attached to a short story about that thing, about everybody being treated equally. And that was, that particular one was of David Almond's book. And I didn't know who he was. And his short story was so good, I became interested in him. And then I looked up, he's very well known apparently for Skellig, his book about, I don't think I want to tell you. It's just really good. Yeah. There's something in the shed that's worth noticing. But interestingly, the boy, the protagonist, his friend, next door neighbor, is a homeschool girl. And their dialogue that they have her dialogue about homeschool and about public school is a riot. It's really, really funny. So that's worth it. I read that, and I want to give Morgan this. This is a 6th grade read, so I'll give this to her in the 6th grade. And then I thought on a whim of Mice and Men. I ordered this because I've never read it. I've only read 2 Steinbecks. I've read East of Eden and The Grapes of Wrath. I couldn't find my Grapes of Wrath copy, but I pulled East of Eden. That's not a children's book at all. East of Eden is a terrifying, I would even say part of this is like a horror story, but the woman, the antagonist in this is really quite terrifying. And interestingly, she gets better towards the end, which is sort of confusing to the reader. But apparently it's because his relationship with his ex-wife got better. And so he mirrored evil a little bit less on to the woman in the book. And so this cannot be a kid's read at all. So I thought, well, maybe that's why this Steinbeck is a middle schooler or high school read. But I also kind of think that it has to do with the length of the book. This is skinny. It doesn't mean that it's not packed as much as this, though. I mean, that's the length of a book doesn't necessarily equate to its quality. We know that. But I'll read this one, but I'm still erring on the side of, if we only read one Steinbeck, I don't know that it will be this. It'll probably be Grapes of Wrath, because we live in a prairie. We live in a state where many farmers have forgotten what the Dust Bowl is, and they're getting rid of their shelter belts. And there is a little bit of that in the Grapes of Wrath. The reason why, other than the economy, but the complete destruction of the soil because it's overtilled and then eroded. So that's in Grapes of Wrath that I would like to use with Morgan. Immense Journey, I have no idea what this is. So these are 2, we got these in our used bookstore. Morgan chose this Rex Stout, a Nero Wolfe mystery, The Golden Spiders. Some of this is not very schooly, and we don't care. We read everything and anything. And then The Immense Journey by Lauren Isley. So these are the super old ones. I think I got one of them for free. This one I definitely got for free, Thomas Aquinas on Human Nature. I had to patch it together because it's got, the pages are completely torn, but they're torn clean, so who cares? I can still read them. I offered to pay for the book too, because I didn't think I should get it free, but I got this one for free and I didn't have this. I didn't have on Human Nature, so I got it for free. The Yellow Wallpapaer, Charlotte Perkins Gilman. The Yellow Wallpapaer is just a short story. That's bigger than a short story. But strangely, it doesn't say anything about it being an anthology of other writing. So I got this because I didn't have the Yellow Wallpapaer. And I do want it, but there are other things in here as well, other writings. Hidden Systems is, I think I showed this, but this is something that Morgan is going to go on our reading shelf, because after botany and before physics, we're going to do more geography, because we love geography. And so Morgan's going to privately read this one herself for geography. Drawing from Life, I got this for myself. And Up Before Daybreak, Cotton and People in America. In another couple chapters in Howard Zinn's book, I'm going to put this onto Morgan's bookshelf, and she can read more about what it was like to be an indentured servant, a child laborer, a slave, women at work, that type of thing, and what it was really like for even the best conditions for farming back in what were not great conditions. So I thought that would be an interesting, especially with original photos. I'm always up for a book on great essays. So this one's got all the names: Montaigne, Shaw, Conrad, White, Huxley, Schopenhauer, everybody. So I thought, you can't have too many essays. The Life of Pi. I want to read The Life of Pi while we're doing geography. Yeah, I think it'll be fun. So we're going to read The Life of Pi when we do geography. Now, some of you, probably many of you, do you guys remember Henry and Mudge? Is it Henry and Mudge? Henry and Mudge, and then what's her name in Snowball? I can't remember. Cynthis Rylant and Poppleton too. These are the kids, the beginner chapters books, the little readers. And there's always colored photos on every page. And I remember, we love Henry and Mudge. We still have all of the books. And when Morgan is gone from here, I will probably sit and read them all again. But Cynthis Rylant also writes adult literature, I think, or like lit for older kids. And Every Living Thing is stories by Cynthis Rylant, because as you know, she loves animals, just loves them. This is way different from her kids' books, but they can be children's stories, except one in particular is about a man who is an alcoholic and struggles, but is helped along by, I think it's a squirrel. It's been a few months since I've read it, that he watches out of his window. So some of these are very melancholy, and they're very heartfelt. One is about a boy who's really struggling in school, and everybody calls him slow. And slow is a hard word for a child to hear when referred to, when they're referred to as that. And the boy has a slow moving turtle, and he brings the turtle to school one day, and they're just heartfelt stories. They're meaningful, and it shows that the child may have difficulty in some areas, but not certainly in others. So this is a really good set of short stories that I would like Morgan to read. The Storied Life of H.A. Fikri. I've not read it. Apparently everybody likes it, but this might be just for me. This took me, I was on hold for, can you believe this? This took 5 months to get. I could not for the life of me find a hard copy of T.S. Eliot's Tradition and Individual Talent. It's very short. It's very short. It's less than 20 pages, but I wanted it. I bought it. The #1 bestseller, Emotional Intelligence, Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. Emotional intelligence is a really interesting topic. And as we approach spirituality, sociology, psychology, I wanted to have this on my shelf. I've read several of these. I had to read 1 or 2 for work as well when I was working outside the home. And I don't know if I read this one, but this is something that I'm going to read and see if I like this one. And then we'll put it into Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. Put it into our readers later on. Judy Blume's Summer Sisters. I bought this because I like Judy Blume. Okay, I wanted this one so bad. I waited. It never went on sale. For like 6 or 7 months, it didn't go on sale. I'm halfway through it. This is Eating People Wrong? Great Legal Cases and How They Shaped the World. So interesting. And I'm on the lookout for like con law 101 type of stuff for government. I want to introduce the real cases, the problematic cases, the foundational cases, and not just do a dry tome on US government. I want to brings some very interesting law into it, like the Buffalo Creek disaster is also a phenomenal book to read if you're doing con law. And I wanted to put this one in too. I was so curious. I mean, it hooked me. It got me with the title. How can I not read a book Is Eating People Wrong? It turns out it depends. And that this case still is used in modern arguments. So common law is very interesting to read. So Gone with the Wind. I bought the books that I remember my mother reading in the 70s and 80s. Thornbirds, Betty Bowlord's Spring Moon. And it was so hard to finish this book, James A. Michener. It was not hard because it was big. It was hard because I didn't want it to end. I started reading really, really, really slow because this is the first Michener I've ever read. I don't know why I didn't read Michener before this. I feel like I'm behind now because I haven't read him. This is an amazing book, and look it up, read about it. It's fantastic, and I want to put it into. I want this to be like a 12th grade read. I want it to be a high input, low output, a really cool like 12th grade. Read some phenomenal, fun, awesome, difficult, complicated literature, and this is going to be on there. It's not complicated to read, but the dynamics and stuff and the building up of how it goes through thousands of years of time is amazing. And then I picked up The Good Earth because I wasn't sure which Pearl S. Buck I wanted to read, but this has something to do with, oh, I know why. It's because I wanted to read Young Fu of the Upper Yangtze, and it's an older book, and I think this might be a Waldorf read or something. I'm not sure. But the intro is written by Pearl S. Buck. So when I read the intro, I thought, hey, I don't have any Pearl S. Buck on my classics list. So I bought The Good Earth, and by the way, I think this will be really good. So I'm not sure if we'll read this. We won't get to it this semester, but it'll either be the second semester of 6th grade or probably the first semester of 7th grade. So because of Pearl S. Buck and her intro to Young Fu of the Upper Yangtze, I bought The Good Earth because everybody reads The Good Earth. But then as I was looking at all of her other writings, I thought, you know what? Yes, not going to argue. This is probably a great book. But, and I also haven't read any Pearl S. Buck. But this one, East Wind, West Wind, may work better for Morgan because it's about a young girl. Or, yes, a young girl turned wife. And I think that this might be a good start for a Pearl S. Buck for Morgan. Now, if you've watched the movie, you're going to laugh if you haven't read the book. If you have watched Starship Troopers, you will know that it is a phenomenal B-rate, goofy movie. Not so with Starship Troopers, the actual novel. So they really eviscerated it, although it's a fantastic movie in its own right. It's totally gory and I totally love it. But that's not what this is. This is a Heinlein masterpiece of sci-fi turned reality. Essentially kind of like, you know, when you think of that little button that everybody in their Star Trek uniforms push, and then they can talk to the mothership. That's essentially the first cell phone, right? And so thoughts become things, things take on action. And in Starship Troopers, there are many things here about combat, mechanized combat, that are becoming true or have become true. And so this is not only well written and a very interesting sci-fi, but it is not like the movie. However, once you read the book, you should watch the movie and then laugh at the movie. This is a whole bunch of you are showing this lately. And it made me think, I don't have this. I've read it ages ago, but I don't have my copy. How many books have I lost throughout the years? I don't know. Every time I move, I lose a giant box of books for some reason. But I repurchased it, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and my husband hasn't read it either, so I'm going to impress upon him the importance of reading it because it's really, really funny. So that's the book haul. Those are the things that are new to my bookshelf and sort of what I'm thinking about Yeah, I don't know. Starship Troopers may be a 7th or 8th grade read. Maybe 7th. I really kind of want to get on with it. Oh, and one thing I haven't purchased, but what I want to buy very soon is Day of the Triffids. It's right in there with kind of this era of the Tarzan era, of that really interesting modern sci-fi. And I think Day of the Triffids would be really awesome to pair with our botany class. I mean, you can watch the movie too. I think there might be more than one movie, but the original is kind of goofy. Anyway, let's see. Okay, what's next? We have our weekly schedule. So I'm going to flip the camera around and I'll show you what our weekly schedule has turned into if you're interested in how it is that we do all of this stuff, but simplify it and really drill down into our core subjects. And then I'll also show you our matching traveler's notebooks and how we manage to keep track of our day. Here is what I ended up with. This is kind of shiny, so I think I'll show you the original. And this I really like because it helps visualize. We can see that writing and typing is 4 times a week, that history is twice, and math is 4 times, and French is 4 times, and reading is actually, it looks like 3 times. But as I had mentioned before, the United States history portion here is also our reading because we do, Morgan does read aloud here. This is, let's see, I'll go with the warm-up first. With the warm-up, some things are similar. So there's encyclopedia reading that she does. We do the dictation, and then on Mondays we do Satara. I don't know if you've seen that online, but it's really fun. It's a fun online game to memorize portions of the map, and we like to play that every day. With warm-up on Tuesday, it's also encyclopedia and dictation, but we play chess then. And then Wednesday, we have encyclopedia, dictation, and on this day, which sometimes ends up being here, is dictionary. And that's where we open up the dictionary and find a word and discuss it. For warm-up on Thursday, it's again with chess and encyclopedia and dictation. And then on warm-up on Friday, we really do like to play chess. So we make sure we have chess 3 times a week. As you can see, it's really, really simple. And it doesn't look like there are a lot of classes, but we can actually go quite long during the day. It's just that we're staying in the topic that means something to us. It's almost distracting if we move too far, too many times in a day from one subject to another. For us, this sort of has to be this way. And writing can take 20 minutes or it can take 40 minutes. It doesn't matter. Sometimes what Morgan has done is brought her typing up to the warm-up area and she just does it without me. We use typing.com. It's free, but I've decided I'm going to pay the $2.99 a month just to get the ads out of the way. I'm not a fan of having ads in front of Morgan at any particular time or when they flash. It's just annoying. So to me, it's worth the $2.99, and she really likes it. I've been messing around with it, and I type fast, but I only type with a few fingers. So it's forcing me to use all of my fingers, and I actually like it quite a lot. So I'm hoping that she'll be a proper typist and be able to type well. I think that typing is more important than we realize, because later on when our kids want to do something, they want to write something, they want to edit something, they can do that while still looking at the screen and not looking down. So I want to make sure that we are really fast typers by the time we get to high school. Math and logic, and then we have a good portion of French here. And then this sort of line is, I don't have times. I purposely don't have times because I really don't care. I don't care what time it is. It doesn't matter. We start at varying times during the day. Sometimes if we wake up early, which we don't always wake up early anymore as tweens, we sleep in a little bit. But if we're up and ready to go, we might start school at 7 o'clock in the morning here, and at 8:30 here, and 9 here, and 7 o'clock here. So it really doesn't help me to force the schedule. This is a great schedule. It doesn't need to have timing. It just needs to have blocks. And that works really well for us. And then reading, she's really liked the whole Mondays sometimes it's hard to get into the rhythm again, and after lunch having straight reading for as long as you want, that's really, really fantastic. And that can be anything. So it can be Morgan's Reader, it can be more encyclopedia, it could be any book that she wants to read. I don't care. She's just reading it. And then what I like here is we do separate the histories, but we give world history its own due, a good meaty portion here. And we can go quite far into here because we're reading it aloud together. I make more time, and the chapters, sometimes the chapters are longer here than in world history. And I want to make sure that we have time, and I don't want to be rushed to do any of this. And so this helps me not be rushed through anything. So I make sure that I give us a good amount of time for United States history, because this has generated, US history is relatively new to Morgan. We've done some of it, but we haven't talked about it. We've read books, but here we're really discussing it. And that's very meaningful. Let's see, anything different? So I wanted to do botany in a really large chunk because it's how I did it growing up, and it worked really well. I remember having a full 2 hours straight of science, but we're going to do this in units. And once botany is done, I think we have probably 2 more months of botany, and then we'll do a good 2 months of geography. And then the whole next semester will be all physics. So we'll switch this to all physics. And that's going to take a while. And I think we can have a what we call a working lunch, where we can take our sandwiches out into the shop and still work on physics throughout here, and then typing can move up here, because the physics experiments might take a while, or how we want to write them up might take a while. So I really want to have this whole day, a large chunk of the day, for as much physics as we can, or much science. And I have found, let's see, art is really nice. So we do the art, and then we sit and we chat. I've been showing Morgan a documentary on something involving health. So while we're doing art, after we finish the art course and then we choose to do art together, we might have a working lunch in the shop and sit and eat together. And meanwhile, we'll watch some kind of documentary involving health, either economic health, women's health, social media health. And we talk about all, like Childhood 2.0, that the video that I had mentioned that we watched last year. And I think, what was the other one? The Social Dilemma is also a really, really good documentary to watch. So while we're doing art, we're also sometimes watching a documentary. And then health involves many, many, many other things, as you well know. And so I've shown some of the health books that we have had in the past. It's not all about sex ed. It's not all home ed. It is everything having to do with being a healthy, growing, advancing future adult. That goes into health. And that generates tons of fantastic conversations. It's a great thing to do on the last portion of the week, where we're not rushed, but it's fun. And we're learning and retaining quite a lot in that subject. So when this is all done, when botany's finished, I'll do another one, and I'll put geography there. But I like this. So Morgan and I each have a laminated one for our desk. This is just the original, and I laminated it. And then what I also did was, this is hers, and ours are identical. She's got the same stuff in it as me, and I made a little teeny one and then folded it. So wherever we go, we just look up what it is that we're doing. And then this is our daily planner. It's awesome. It's tiny. I love using them. This is the ones that we got from Walmart. What brand are they? It's the undated daily planners. So this is really handy to have. I like them, and they fit. So Morgan chooses which one she wants. And I bought several of these, like a whole bunch, thinking I really foresaw wanting to use these a lot. So I have a whole ton of these. They'll last us for years. And then this is I had to purchase this one, the Midori, that fits specifically for a passport. And I always keep our attendance here. This really helps me with breaks and when we're going to break and how many days. So I keep the total number of days that we have done school, and then I'll tally up a total somewhere here. And I like seeing what we're doing and how far we've come. It's just a thing. I have to do it. I need to take attendance for North Dakota anyway, but I really like doing this. And then here is where I like to see what we're doing throughout the year. And then I translate some of our breaks. If I have a break, let's see, the February right here, then I'll also put the break right here. So when I'm looking to populate, if we're going to go to plays or if we're going to travel, I can put it in here and we can see the whole year. And that's it. That's all we have. That's all we need. It's just Morgan and I. So that's really all we need. That's it for me, you guys. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of the comments and all of your encouragement. Thank you for letting me share. Thank you for allowing me to be meaningful in some way in your homeschool, no matter how small of a way. I hope that I have only done good and have only helped. And I wish you the best homeschool. See ya.